Good morning, good peoples. All right, we finally got our announcement on Roundhill coming out with its additional weeklies, which I did a video on. So you see MSTW, the Google fund, the Microsoft fund, the AMD fund, and the Broadcom fund. So MicroStrategy is of major interest. So this video centers around, are we really going to see a new GOAT? You know, is the GOAT dead? Is Misty in trouble? Is Yieldmax in trouble? I would say potentially Yieldmax is in trouble. Okay. I don't say it lightly, and I never say anything I'm not prepared to show you the data on. Okay, this isn't so much opinion, it's an educated analysis that I'm doing. Now, with some caveats, I understand a lot of people have loved Misty forever. I was doing videos when I first started on how I was generating 40,000 a month on under a 500,000 portfolio, and that primarily centered around Misty, which had been out about a month at that time, and Coney. And after a few months, I really began to understand the income funds and said, okay, I can do better outside of these and on pullbacks and so forth. I don't like the fact that they can't capture enough. Love that income. But if you have a lot of options and sophisticated options capability, you don't necessarily need it. I still invest in some income funds. I mean, I can't be out here doing videos if I don't. But let's get to the gist of it. I don't see Yildmax going away. It's not like that. I think there's a new sheriff in town, and that sheriff is hiring a lot of good deputies. So I'll be reporting and I'll be watching. So let's jump into maybe a quick summary and let's talk about a few things here. So this is not intended to show other than a baseline. So IBIT is the underlying gigantic fund that most of these option writers, if they're not doing swaps, which Roundhill will do with their new MSTW, then they're going to use, sorry, guys, on this, it's not as relevant, right? Because this is an MSTR focused thing. If it was BTC, then the income guys a lot of times use IBIT. So, but it's still a standard to, it's linked, right? If you think of MSTR, you think of their plethora of Bitcoins that they own. They own a lot of Bitcoin, right? And they continue to do all kinds of capital raises, turn their treasury, their cash into Bitcoin. So that's why I just show IBIT whenever I'm talking about the underlying, even though the real underlying is MSTR. So whether they're buying swaps, whether they're creating synthetics and weekly calls and call spreads, that's why these two are sort of relevant. So over this, and again, this isn't what I'm going to show you is how I've taken everybody and normalized them. I no longer, even though I haven't done it for this one, but I will. When you have four players at 327 and two of them are sort of the indexes, all you really have is Misty and Winter. So it's not relevant. This is one place that Yieldmax will be, I think, still strong is on their inverse funds. Now, some people could say, I'll buy a 2x or a 1x, negative that. There's a lot of that stuff out there, but they're funds. So maybe not. But I had it in here from before because I was doing a lot of how to hedge Misty. So let me get to the data. A lot of good things about Yieldmax. Hey, I love their website. I love a lot of things about them. But I really think that these weekly payers, let's see. Hey, what do you guys think? Tell me in the comments. I know I'm going to get them. Hey, Bruce, I've been with Misty. It's still the GOAT until somebody really knocks it off. And I get you. I sort of feel that way, but not really because I've been burnt too many times on Pulte and Coney Uh, so now I'm seeing as Roundhill has sufficient competition. I used to love Curve for not having NAV, right? Yeah, they have a small AUM and it's not as active, so the options aren't really there on the individual income funds. And if they are, there's so little volume, I haven't even checked in a while. But there's a lot of positive things about Yieldmax, but there's also a lot of negative. They're sticking with that monthly. Yeah, they shifted to the weekly groups and all that. Ulti is a godsend. I praise it. Is it becoming the new Misty? Kind of. People don't want to always wait that month. A lot of things change in a month's time. All right, so the idea, nothing new here, right? I mean, it is updated, but you have 157% annualized gain since 327 on BTC, if you will, the IBIT tracker. And then on MSTR, it has 108. Everybody else is down. Kind of the winner here, but this isn't really fair, right? This is 327 and this is 43. Just in that week, you know, it can help itself to do better. Um, but so that's down minus 75. And the problem is now, where do you compare everybody else's 6, 5? And you'll see what I did in all of my other analysis on all of the Roundhill funds. Not only do I show this, but then I go down to the newest date and then I show everybody from the new date. So it's absolutely apples to apples. Yeah, it's a monthly payer and a weekly, but even when I analyze a monthly going back, if the launch was in the middle of the monthly period, then I give it half the credit of the payment, right? If it's one day before the payment, if it's 1 week before the payment, it's a monthly, I'll give them a fourth of that payment. So I'm really trying to bring these down. All right, let's let's at least recognize these competitors. I'm losing interest in MST. I'll be honest. The only time I see MST going to really perform, because their nav is just so horrible. Their nav erosion, because they're eroding when it's flat and they've got 200% leverage. So not a good situation when Bitcoin's going to roar and really move up. They're going to do pretty well. But that's a specialized period of time. If that's the case, I can also just go buy a 2X with no income. I don't know that it's your income, your everyday, your weekly, your monthly yield player, dividend player for that. But I love to see MSTW for Roundhill. Now, I'm going to leave these. I'm not going to nuance you to death with. There's no real winner here. I mean, Rex looks great, right? Whoops, sorry. Bitwise, IMST. Okay. Why? Well, because they paid a 701 and then they went to a 188. So their next payment's coming up, and that'll be interesting, really interesting, guys, on how well they continue. And I'll be right there analyzing all that. All right, let me jump in to my intended, the rest of what I really wanted to cover with you guys. I think you'll find this sort of fascinating. So the story is, in my opinion, there's three main people that are playing now. I see Roundhill, Yieldmax, Rex, and I think Neos has some. Oh, and Granite. So I'm gonna demystify some of the myths, right, and just get into this. So this is a summary. I color coded them. Everybody knows about the Roundhill 5. They've been out since 219, right? Hence a lot of the analysis I try and do around 219. But now they have so then they came on 618. You're seeing them move, guys. They did their Amazon, they did their BRKB underlying, they did their Hood underlying, their Meta underlying, and their Netflix underlying. Not very long, right? 36 calendar days ago. And today, in about 2 hours, we're going to see these launch MSTW, right? The MicroStrategy underlying, Google underlying, Microsoft underlying, AMD underlying, and Broadcom underlying. All right. So all that data will get tracked and all be relevant. Here's what I wanted to show you guys. So I don't see hardly any instances, literally, where total return favors, sadly, Yieldmax anymore. Now, exception would be who else has an ulti? Okay, I'll give it. You got me. Yieldmax, no thank you. Not interested, right? It's got all 80% junk and 20% nuggets. So not my cup of tea. Guys, if you own it, that's fine. We all have differing opinions. I don't particularly care for it. Why Mag? No, not special anymore. You got Maggie, you got I imagine Maggie will really outdo it consistently because Roundhill does that. Okay. Now some of you are going to say, "Oh, I don't want leverage. Roundhill does leverage." Guys, just look at total return. The methods underneath don't matter. Total return matters. Now, I'll be the first to tell you if we had a 6 month up period and MST from Defiance wins because Bitcoin was roaring, it's the only one that had leverage, I'd say, yeah, okay, in a fantastic up market, I want to own MST, but I could just buy a 2x, and every month or two sell some, right? It goes away from the pure income fund, but it is an income. But as a daily driver, no thank you. All right. So let's look, and then I want to show you what I've been doing. I think you'll appreciate it because it changes the outlook. So just look at these here, 21 through 25 rows. This is my, analysis to say who's the best fund, and I color coded in green, okay? And it clearly would be NVII, and this green wouldn't even be here, right? So let's do that. Let's change that away because it's clear to me that I have 219, 219, 219. This is the underlying. So it's not really in the race, right? You guys are income focused and I'm reporting as income focused. So I got Nvidia, okay? Then I got NVYY, which is newer on 513. And then I got NVII, right? The newest fund of all. Well, that's not a good way to compare everything. And I tell people, I said, the heck with that. I'm just going to break it down. I'm going to make everybody 528. Except for I don't need to do NVIDIA, right? Because you're not looking at it. You want to do that, that's a real easy one. But you want to know on your income funds, which one do you want to invest in? Well, look who wins. NVII wins. But it's not a slam dunk. Look at it up here, 318 to 44 to 123 from Granite to 3488. But look down here now, right? Now they're all even. I've put together their revenue right on the mark. Some are weekly, some are monthly. And now you have a winner, but not by much. So here's my point. Is Yildmax going to win in most of these single stocks that you guys are interested in total return? My answer is I don't think so. But the proof's in the pudding. I'll be here to watch, just alerting you guys. All right. And this is what I need to do in order to show my point better. So, I'm always going to have this because this is one way to do it. This is just an absolute way to verify what I thought above. And sometimes it changes it. All right, let's look at Tesla. Now, Tesla's all over the map, volatile. Who can win anything? Well, if you're a 6'4" starter and everybody else is a 219, the new guy wins, right? Everybody else is in the red. So who's second place? Tesla. But do they win when we all bring it to 6'4"? No, they don't. They're not the best fund. Okay, let's look on 6'4". So you got a 21 there, and they don't even win. Look who pulls in. Granite, baby. You go, Granite. So that's what happens when you analyze the data where it's pure same, if you will. And that takes a lot of work, I'll be honest. Oops. You know what? I don't have TSLW for the 6.4. Oh, how did I leave that one out? All right, I got it in a different place. Not there. All right, I got another monitor. I'll take a look at it. It's not that much data to grab, even though they're weekly payments, right? I thought I had this one nailed down, but I missed one. Everybody else I prepared. All right. So you got equals sum of 0.389. I would have sworn I had this data out somewhere, but I guess I didn't bring it in for that one. 469, 467. Oh, it's 487. And we got about three more. 0.56 plus 0.168 plus 0.531. Okay. Oh, I see something here. This will get fixed. This will be really good. They may win this one. There's something. Let's get this. So 34 gain or loss. That looks high. Oh, yeah, I didn't bring the formulas for that guy. We may have a new winner here. So 8.99 on 50 days, that's a big loss, but the 1680 should get the same gain there. All right, I think we're going to have a new winner. Yeah. TSLW. And that's what I see a lot, guys. Roundhill is just kicking booty in a lot of ways. Um, but it's not, Granite has its, Granite's in second place. And where's Tesla? Dragging up the rear, right? So Yieldmax is not winning anything, guys. Now, in fairness, they've won one of the worst, right? Here are four there, and I imagine I went out and got TSLP, so that was a close one for them, but this isn't much of a win. You know, Apple's just not getting it done. They may, I see some favorable things for them, but hey, Apple is minus 17, so Yieldmax, you won one. Got to be fair. Okay, and look what we did. We put 219 in all of these because we could. Now I suspect there may be some other players. And remember, Roundhill. Well, Roundhill is in this game, um, but who just launched? Somebody else just launched this. Rex, I think, is coming out with these more. All right, so let's look at this one. This is Coin using 219, and then you got Koi over here, right? Blowing everybody out because they're using 6.4. Well, is that fair? No. So what happens when you go here and look at everybody at a 6.4? right? Whereas they only had 130%, they had 741, because all it takes is one little category to blow up, right? They had a 683% expected gain. They're not going to get that in a year. They just caught a period where they went up. Well, they still have COII. They still have that 58% and 683, but look at what other people have. So when you look at that same exact period, Koi is in second place and Roundhill is killing everybody. All right, so here's my last one, guys. I'm not going to take this forever. So give me in your comments what you think. Do you see Roundhill that way? I mean, I'll give it to Granite shares for yield boost and some of theirs. And I was corrected the other day correctly. I said, well, they're supposed to be 200% leverage. And somebody said, hey, Bruce, they're using 2x funds that they write their options on. Well, they're using those funds most of the time because they're their own funds. So they're driving liquidity to their own funds, right? But it isn't leverage. It's just writing options on a leverage fund. So they were correct in saying that. I just, I can't be everywhere at all times and see everything. So I love my audience. I don't like somebody that, you were wrong, this, and I wasn't really wrong because they didn't take the time to look. And also, most of you, 80%, are really nice. Hey, Bruce, I think you might have made a mistake here, instead of said, hey, you were wrong. Just be cool. Realize that we're doing hundreds and hundreds of things here. So be cool with your comments and I'll be cool back. All right. So a real winner here. I experienced it, right? Yeah, the underlying. I only showed it because there's so few. I stopped showing it in these most of the time. So guys, we've got some serious competition coming now from Roundhill. I'm not paid by Roundhill. I'm not sponsored by Roundhill. I haven't even done an interview, although I may let some people in the know that I do want to interview Dave, right? I've interviewed Will Ryan. I've interviewed Sylvia. So I've covered Defiance. I've covered, and Curve. So I've interviewed Curve. I've interviewed Defiance, and then I've interviewed Granite Shares CEOs. So, I get asked all the time. I just, am not that interested in doing it really. Um, this is this is fun for me and it helps me to do my own investing, but it's not even my core investing. 80% of my portfolio is not in income funds. So 20% is. So I dabble in them, and I, like anything, I study them deeply though, to really analyze what's going on and what changes can do. So anyway, guys, that's what I got for you. Um, just think that you should know that it's coming, and watch me, subscribe to the channel, like the video. I know a lot of you have joined. I'm really happy to see the increased audience, and I'm happy when you guys point out things to me and tell me. So don't ever be afraid to comment and let me know what's going on with your thoughts, actions, worries, concerns, questions. All right, guys, this is Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Have a great Thursday ahead. Bye for now.